Welcome to The Real Debrief, the show where we dive deep into the world of film production, exploring the genres you love, the projects making waves, and the trends shaping the industry. We're here to give you a 360-degree review for entertainment professionals. So grab your popcorn and get ready for some expert insights. And, well, the occasional bed joke from Talen. It's The Real Debrief. Now your hosts, Talen and Lisa.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Talen, and today we're diving into a film that's been captivating audiences not just for its raw emotional storytelling, but for the brilliant performance at its center. Saoirse Ronan in The Outrun. Ronan's been a constant presence in the world of cinema for years now, and each time she takes on a new role, we can expect nothing less than excellence. But there's something about The Outrun that feels like a departure, an evolution. And I think that's why we're going to spend some time today unpacking exactly what makes this film and her performance so special.
Hey, Talen. I'm so excited for this episode. I feel like every time we talk about Saoirse Ronan, there's a new layer of her artistry to uncover. She's one of those actors whose presence is always enough to make you want to see a film. And The Outrun is no exception. It's such a raw, powerful story, and Ronan just sinks into the role in a way that feels both familiar and completely new.
Exactly. Ronan has this incredible ability to embody characters with such depth and nuance. Whether it's in Brooklyn or Lady Bird or even Little Women, she brings something fresh and fully realized to every role she touches. But what stands out in The Outrun is the way she portrays Rona, a recovering alcoholic navigating her way through sobriety. It's not your typical redemption story, is it?
Not at all, and that's what makes it so interesting. The recovery narrative is one we've seen before in many films, but The Outrun takes it in a slightly different direction. It doesn't romanticize recovery, and it doesn't promise a happy ending. Instead, it gives us a glimpse into the real struggles and the messiness of trying to rebuild life after hitting rock bottom. And Ronan's performance is at the heart of that honesty.
The film itself is adapted from Amy Liptrot's memoir, and you can feel that personal connection in the way the story unfolds. Directed by Nora Fishite, The Outrun is a very quiet, introspective film, but that doesn't mean it lacks intensity. I mean, it's almost meditative in the way it explores Rona's journey back home to the Orkney Islands after her life in London falls apart.
Yes, the Orkney Islands play such a significant role in the film. The stark, beautiful landscape contrasts sharply with the chaos of Rona's inner world. It's like she's come back to this remote place to find some semblance of peace, but instead, she's confronted with all the things she's been running from. Her past, her family, her own mind. It's a place of isolation, but also of reckoning.
And that's what makes the film so different from a conventional recovery narrative. Rona's not just trying to get sober. She's trying to understand herself in the context of everything she's lost. It's a painful process, and there are no easy answers. I mean, one of the most poignant moments in the film is when she asks another recovering alcoholic if sobriety can ever lead to happiness, and his answer is haunting in its simplicity. He says, it never gets easy. It just gets less hard. Oof.
That line hit me hard too. It encapsulates the essence of the film. This idea that life is full of struggles and recovery is not about finding happiness, but about surviving. The film doesn't shy away from the fact that sobriety is tough and often lonely. It doesn't sugarcoat the reality of addiction or the ongoing fight to stay clean.
And that's where Ronan's performance really shines. She doesn't overplay the character's pain. I mean, it's all there in the subtle shifts in her expression. The way she holds herself, the way her eyes flicker with emotion in certain moments. I mean, there's this restraint in her performance that makes it all the more powerful. She doesn't need to scream or cry to show us what Rona's going through. It's all in the quieter moments.
Exactly. Ronan has this gift for saying so much with just a glance or a small gesture. In The Outrun, she lets the audience in on Rona's inner turmoil without ever resorting to melodrama. It's a restrained yet deeply emotional performance, and it's what makes the film resonate so strongly.
Yeah, one of the things I found particularly interesting about the film was the non-linear structure. We don't get Rona's full backstory in a straightforward way. Instead, she sees flashes of her life in London, moments of joy, but also moments of despair. I mean, the way Fishite chose to tell the story through fractured memories and flashbacks mirrors Rona's own disjointed sense of self.
Yes, it's like we're piecing together Rona's life along with her. The flashbacks are often disorienting, and that reflects how she experiences those memories. They come to her in fragments, some clearer than others, and we get the sense that she's still trying to make sense of her own past. It's a bold narrative choice, but I think it works because it mirrors the way trauma and addiction can warp a person's perception of time and reality.
And it adds to the overall sense of unease, right? I mean, as the audience, we're never quite sure what's coming next. Will Rona relapse? Will she find peace? I mean, there's this constant tension throughout the film, and I think that's part of what makes it so compelling. You're rooting for her, but you're also aware of how precarious her situation is.
That tension is palpable, and it's heightened by the film's setting. The Orkneys are remote and windswept. It feels like the edge of the world. There's a sense of isolation that permeates the film both physically and emotionally. Rona is cut off from the life she knew, but she's also cut off from herself in many ways.
And the natural world plays such a huge role in her recovery, or at least in her attempt to heal. There are these breathtaking shots of the landscape, rocky cliffs, crashing waves, endless skies. It's beautiful, but also harsh, much like Rona's journey. It's as if the environment is both a refuge and a challenge for her.
That's something I really appreciated about the Outrun. The film doesn't present nature as this magical solution to all of Rona's problems. It's not about her going out into the wilderness and finding herself in some cliched way. The natural world is indifferent to her struggles. It offers her space to think and reflect, but it's not going to heal her. She has to do that on her own, and it's not clear if she's ever going to fully succeed.
And that ambiguity is what makes the film linger in your mind long after it's over, right? There's no tidy resolution, no neat bow tied at the end. We don't know if Rona is going to be okay. We don't know if she'll stay sober or if she'll relapse. And that's the reality of addiction, isn't it? It's not something you beat once and for all. It's a constant battle.
It really is. And I think the film's refusal to give us a happy ending is what makes it so powerful. It's honest about the fact that recovery is a process, and it's not always linear. There will always be setbacks, there will always be pain, and sometimes all you can do is keep moving forward, even if it's just one step at a time.
That honesty is rare in films about addiction. Too often we see these stories that wrap up everything in a nice little package. Someone hits rock bottom, they go to rehab, and then everything is magically better. But that's not how it works in real life, and I appreciate that the Outrun doesn't shy away from that truth.
Absolutely. And I think Saoirse Ronan was the perfect choice for this role because she brings such depth and complexity to Rona. She's able to convey the weight of Rona's past without being weighed down by it, if that makes sense. There's a lightness to her performance, even in the darkest moments.
It's a delicate balance for sure. Ronan has this incredible ability to make you feel like you're seeing the world through her character's eyes, right? You're not just watching Rona go through the motions of recovery, you're experiencing it with her every step of the way.
And that's why The Outrun is such a memorable film. It's not just a story about addiction and recovery. It's a story about a woman trying to figure out who she is, in spite of everything she's been through. It's about the search for identity, for meaning, for connection. And I think that's something we can all relate to, whether we've struggled with addiction or not.
Exactly. At its core, The Outrun is about the human experience. It's about how we deal with pain, how we cope with loss, and how we find the strength to keep going, even when it feels like the world is falling apart. And that's what makes it such a universally resonant story. You don't need to have gone through the exact experiences that Rona has to understand the struggle she's going through. The emotional truth of it is what draws you in, and that's largely thanks to Saoirse Ronan's portrayal.
Totally. There's this rawness to Rona's journey that feels so intimate, so personal. And I think the nonlinear storytelling adds to that, as we're given pieces of her past in fragments. like a puzzle slowly coming together. It mirrors how people process trauma. Memories come back in waves, in flashes, not in a neat and linear way. And through it all, Ronan brings such vulnerability and strength to the role.
It's interesting that you mentioned the puzzle-like structure because that's something I've been thinking about a lot. So many films about addiction follow a strict timeline, you know? The fall, the rock bottom, the redemption arc. But the Outrun doesn't fall into that trap. It keeps things messy. And that's what makes it feel so real. I mean, life isn't neatly ordered. It's chaotic, especially when you're trying to rebuild yourself.
Absolutely. The film's structure is almost like a reflection of Rona's state of mind. At the beginning, she's scattered, unsure of who she is or what she wants. As the film progresses, we start to see more of her past, her struggles with addiction, her relationships, and her family. But even then, there's no clear-cut resolution. It's as if the film is saying, this is a process. It's ongoing. And it's okay that it's not perfect.
And speaking of family, we have to talk about the dynamic between Rona and her parents. I thought that was one of the most heartbreaking aspects of the film. Rona's relationship with her mother, played by Saskia Reeves, is so fraught with tension. But there's also this deep love there. I mean, her mother is religious, very much by the book. And there's a real clash between her beliefs and Rona's struggles. I mean, it's a nuanced portrayal of how families deal with addiction.
Yes, and the relationship with her father, played by Stephen Delane, is equally complex. He's struggling with bipolar disorder, and you can see how that's affected Rona over the years. There's a scene where they're talking on the farm, and you get the sense that Rona's always had this chaotic relationship with him, but there's also an unspoken bond between them. They're both battling their own demons, and it's clear that Rona's struggles with addiction are, in some ways, tied to her father's mental health.
That's such a key point. The film does an excellent job of showing how addiction and mental health issues are interconnected, not just within the individual, but within the families as well. Rona's journey isn't about her, it's about the people around her, the relationships that have shaped her, and the cycles she's trying to break. It adds another layer of complexity to the story.
And I think that's what makes the Outrun stand out. It's not just about one woman's recovery. It's about the entire ecosystem of her life, the push and pull of her relationships, her past, and her future. It's a film that recognizes how interconnected all of these things are, and that's what makes it feel so rich and textured.
And throughout all of that, it's Ronan's performance that ties everything together. She's the anchor of the film, and her ability to convey so much with so little is just remarkable. I mean, there are scenes where she barely says a word, but you know exactly what she's feeling. That's a testament to her skill as an actor.
Exactly. Ronan's always had this incredible ability to bring quiet intensity to her roles, and that's exactly what the Outrun needed. The film could have easily wandered into melodrama, but Ronan keeps it grounded. Even in the most emotional moments, she never overdoes it. She trusts the audience to feel the weight of Rona's pain without hitting us over the head with it.
And that's such a rare quality in an actor, especially one as young as Ronan. She's been acting for years, but she's still only in her 20s. And yet she brings this wisdom, this maturity to her roles that makes you forget how young she is. She's able to tap into that emotional core of a character in a way that's so authentic and nuanced.
I agree. And it's fascinating to think about how her career has evolved over the years. From Atonement to Brooklyn to Lady Bird and Little Women, she's consistently chosen roles that challenge her, roles that allow her to explore different facets of the human experience. And The Outrun feels like another step in that journey, another layer of complexity in her body of work.
It's also worth noting that The Outrun is a bit of a departure from some of her previous roles. This is a darker, more introspective film, and Rona is a character who's deeply flawed, deeply human. It's not about likability, it's about honesty. And Ronan is able to bring that raw honesty to the screen in a way that feels both relatable and heartbreaking.
Yes, and I think that's what makes Rona such a compelling character. She's not perfect, far from it, But you can't help but root for her, even when she's making mistakes, even when she's struggling to stay afloat. There's a realness to her that makes you want to see her succeed, even when the odds are stacked against her.
Yeah, and that's a testament to both Ronan's performance and the film itself. The Outrun doesn't shy away from the messiness of recovery, and it doesn't offer an easy answer. But it does offer hope in its own way. It's about finding the strength to keep going, even when things feel impossible. It's about learning to live with the pain rather than trying to erase it.
And that's such a powerful message. Life doesn't get easy, but it can get less hard. And I think that's something we can all relate to, whether we're dealing with addiction or not. The Outrun is a film that speaks to the resilience of the human spirit, and it's a reminder that healing is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. It's a film that stays with you long after the credits roll. And I think that's largely because of the way it handles its subject matter with such care and sensitivity. It's not a flashy film. It's quiet, reflective, and deeply moving. And at the center of it all is Saoirse Ronan, delivering one of the best performances of her career.
Absolutely. Ronan's portrayal of Rona is nothing short of remarkable, and it's a reminder of why she's one of the greatest actresses of her generation. She has this ability to disappear into a role, to make you forget that you're watching an actor, and instead feel like you're witnessing a real person's life unfold before your eyes.
It's a gift, and it's something that not every actor can do. But Ronan makes it look effortless, right? She's able to convey so much with just a glance, with a shift of her posture, with the smallest change in her expression. It's a masterclass in subtlety and restraint, and it's what makes The Outrun such a powerful film.
And that's why I think this film will resonate with so many people. It's not just a story about addiction. It's a story about humanity, about resilience, about the strength it takes to keep moving forward, even when everything feels like it's falling apart.
Yeah, well said, Lisa. The Outrun is a film that speaks to the human experience in a way that's both raw and beautiful. It's a reminder that healing is never easy, but it's always worth it. And with Saoirse Ronan at the helm, it's a journey that's impossible to look away from.
I couldn't agree more. If you haven't seen The Outrun yet, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's a film that will move you, challenge you, and stay with you long after it's over.
Absolutely. And that's all the time we have for today, sadly. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into The Outrun and Saoirse Ronan's incredible performance. We'll be back next week with another episode, so stay tuned.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
This has been The Real Debrief. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, like, rate, and review. We'll see you soon on The Real Debrief.